People were quite surprised that women do that naturally. Just text me when you're home, which is such a simple thing. But have you ever had a lad go, yeah, text me when you get home? I haven't heard that. I want to know from you guys how you feel about being a woman in a man's world, so to speak, and how, if you've ever felt sort of penalised for being a woman, or you've ever felt awkward or in a difficult situation.
Yeah, you need to start like breaking down stereotypes and changing narratives. Don't ever feel intimidated by a man, because I think growing up you used to be taught that like you could be smart but not as smart as a man. You could work but you can't work as hard as a man. You could be this but not better than a man, because you would intimidate him.
I still feel I shouldn't take away the masculinity, or you know how they say if you earn more than a man, you're like taking away their masculinity. Like it's any of our problem. If you feel emasculated, that's your problem, not mine.
So it's a lot about their insecurities and their self-esteem.
Well, exactly.
You're just living your best life and thriving.
Some women do feel like they have to pull back,
Yeah.
and we need to stop feeling like we should pull back and just step forward and step into these powerful roles.
I always used to say, oh no, if I ever settle down with someone, I want them to earn more money than me. I want them to be higher up than me, because then he wouldn't feel intimidated by my success. But it's like, why do we think like that? Or why do I think like that?
Part of it is just it's naturally ingrained. Have you ever been hit on and felt really uncomfortable and had to pass it off and they get angry?
Yeah.
Because I've had that so many times where like you try and gently let someone down and they just get so angry, and it's so scary. Again, the masculinity thing of like knocking their confidence is really bad.
I feel like when you reject a man, it goes two ways. They're either like, oh, she's frigid, or you're a slut, oh, I don't want you anyway, you're a slut. They just can't take it, can they?
When you've been walking down the street, have you ever felt like genuinely scared if a man's been near you?
Yeah.
Like you just walk in, if it's dark or even if it's not dark, have you ever just been scared because there's a guy there?
Yeah.
Do you think a guy has ever felt like that because a girl has walked behind them?
I think so. I started running and I sent like a podcast I was listening to one of my guy friends. It was like 7 p.m. He was like, I'm just gonna go for a jog and I'm gonna listen to this. I was like, how nice is that? That you can go out, feel so comfortable. How privileged are you just to like be able to go out in the dark and not care at all, whereas I had to plan my day because I knew that I couldn't be out after a certain time.
After dark.
And if I was out after a certain time, I had to look behind me all the time. I had to make sure my music was low, and I had to be aware of where I was and everyone around me. And it's crazy because guys just go out and they don't even think about these things at all.
Well, that's what we said, that like they are frightened of being emasculated, but we're literally frightened of being hurt.
Yeah.
And how can you ever compare those two worlds? You do get people that comment online like, oh, why are you moaning? It's not really like that. Yeah, but it is. It really is.
If you're in an Uber, say, or a taxi, if it was a woman driver and I fell asleep in the back, I wouldn't feel scared.
No.
If it was a man driver, I'd keep checking my phone or send my location to like my friends and my mum.
People were quite surprised that women do that naturally. Just text me when you're home, which is such a simple thing. But have you ever had a lad go, yeah, text me when you get home? I haven't heard that.
I think it's interesting that like the reaction to that was not all men. Instead of like saying, okay, we need to learn from this and maybe we need to have conversations about what we can do to improve. It was like, actually, no, it's not me.
Yeah.
Instead of like educating.
Getting so
you know?
defensive.
Typically, like if I'm in a situation where it's like all women, I can just be myself more.
I would never talk about sex to men because they would just take it completely the wrong way.
That's what I mean. Anything remotely sexual, people are like, oh, but she's trying to get my attention. And it's like, no, hun, it's not for you. When I'm out with like a girl on a date, it's just so awful when guys come over and they're like, you're too pretty to be gay, you don't look gay, and it's just like the audacity.
You know, it's not all men, but all men should feel responsible making all women feel safe, the same way as all women would be happy to make men feel safe if it was the other way around. Women just can't help themselves on their own. We need their help to get through to other men.
I definitely think it's important that men have the conversations with themselves. I feel like there's a lot of men who don't understand what they're doing wrong. If there was a way that we can educate like young boys and educate them to become better young men.
When we say how we feel and the experiences we've faced, rather than it be met with like defensiveness, as men we want to change and make women feel more comfortable as men as a whole, rather than instantly being defensive and like, oh, but I'm not like that. That's not going to help anyone.
Sometimes they get their backs up because they don't feel like it's their issue.
Because they've gotten away with it for so long, it's just ingrained in their minds.
It's
and
so hard.
It's an issue.
Maybe that is embarrassing for a man to hear.
I think it's shocking to a lot of men. Hold on a minute. Women who are my close friends or I work with are like living in fear daily, and I never knew. I think it is shocking to them.